Hello, everybody. Today's review is going to be of Scream 7. And before I even get into any of the talking about the movie, we'll go over the cast list because it is quite long for uh, a movie that, I thought was going to end the franchise, but I guess Scream 8's been announced and it's in development. I just checked that, so. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be going to watch another one after that one. But anyway, we'll get into the cast list. Nev Campbell returning as Sydney Prescott, whose name is now Sydney Evans, because she's married, and her husband's in this movie as well too. But anyway, yeah. Courtney Cox returning as Gail Weathers. Isabel May is one of the new characters, Sydney's daughter, Tatum Evans. Jasmine Savoy Brown returning as Mindy Meeks Martin. Mason Gooding returning as Chad Meeks Martin. Robert Jackson, of course, still doing the voice. Anna Camp as Jessica Bowden, who I guess was another new character. Joel McHale, obviously, as Mark Evans, Cindy's husband. And then we get into our very brand new characters, I guess. Celeste O'Connor, who played Chloe Parker. Sam Reckner, who played Ben Brown. Asa German, yeah, who played Lucas Bowden, who was Jessica's son. Matthew Lillard, who returned as Stu Macher. So if you've been online in the last couple of days, you knew that he had a role in this movie. Like, he couldn't hide it anymore, right? It was obvious that he was going to play a part in this. But probably not the part you're thinking. Ethan Embry, who played Marco. David Arquette even had a part of this. Dewey Riley. Michelle Randolph, who played Madison. Jimmy Tatro, who played Scott. And McKenna Grace, who played Hannah Thurman. So, this movie did seem promising at the very beginning with them, with Scott and Madison going to the original house. I was like, okay, we're starting off strong. This is good. This is what we want. And then obviously the killer being in the house with them, you knew that was coming, right? And he absolutely, the kills in that house were brutal. But the first two kills, I have to admit, even the third one was pretty brutal. And I was like, okay, this is really building up to Stu being the killer. And we even go to the psychiatric hospital, and the one guy that was sent, the ghost face that was sent to Sydney's house to take out the daughter, was just some random guy that was at the coffee shop. He didn't really play that important of a role. He just kind of showed up, and he looked a little threatening, but I was like, that's too obvious. But I guess in this movie, the two obvious ones are the ones that end up being the killers, I guess, in a sense. Now, of course, we're expecting Stu throughout the entire movie, because when they go to the psychiatric hospital, they say that he checked out 2 weeks ago. He came in there in the late 90s sort of thing. And then he had killed attempted to kill this high school girl back in the 90s, right? So that would be obviously Sydney. Now this other guy that had killed her had all these drawings of this woman and so on and so forth up on his wall. So he seemed like the kind that you could easily, bend his mind sort of thing to do something like that. Now again, in this movie, I felt like the ghost faces were maybe a little bit too strong, body armor, and at certain points it seemed like the mask maybe was reinforced, and they just kind of kept coming at you no matter what. And I was like, how many ghost faces are we going to get? Is there going to be is this movie going to have 4 of them potentially, like the last one did? They had 3, but at least that was a little bit better of a storyline than this one. I will give it that. So the and we did go a little bit with the old trope, right? Mindy tries to explain that they're going back to the very roots of everything now, and they want Sydney dead, and obviously to wipe out her family bloodline. Now, they already tried to wipe out Sydney once. It would have made more sense to me to have Stu as the killer, but for some reason he was AI throughout the entire movie, and the two killers that had set this all up were her neighbor, Jessica, and some random dude named Marco. Like, I don't really know what significance either of them really played as killers. Um, I mean, she kind of explained herself a little bit at the end of the movie, but I was like, okay, this is weak because who are you two? You're brand new to the franchise, as far as I know. You have you have zero impact on any of the other movies. I don't think like by that point I was just so angry I don't even think I really listened to what she was trying to say because I was like, who are you people? Like, why are you the ghost face killers? It almost would have made more sense for Gail to be the ghost face killer and have her partner as Stu. That would have made more sense to me because Gail's been following Sydney her entire life. It would have been a perfect setup. Like, the fact that they haven't killed Gail Weathers off in these movies kind of, doesn't make much sense, seeing as she really has nothing left, and it kind of shows in this movie because she has something going on with her where she's taking pills to stop it. So she's already potentially dying anyway. Why not just have her killed off? They did it to Dewey, and Dewey went out with at least some honor, trying to protect the kids from the Ghostface killer in the fifth movie. So it would only make sense that she would be dead by now. It just doesn't like it's like they're keeping them alive for just to kind of drag this out at this point. Like, this movie was really weak as far as I was concerned. They had the story there with Stu, um, and then to make him AI really upset me because I was like, this was the build up. You could have easily finished off the franchise properly, making Stu the killer. Like, why drag it out another movie? If they drag it out another movie and they say that Stu's alive, like, I could care less now at this point, because the the story with the fifth and the sixth one with Billy and his daughter, it made sense. Like, it was still relevant with inside the story. But now all these characters just seem to be like invincible, like Mindy and Chad. Like, he was stabbed so many times between the first two movies he was in. He shouldn't be alive, but somehow he is. Her husband gets stabbed I don't know how many times and then dragged out on like this sheet of plastic at the end of the movie, and he was somehow still alive. Like, how Mark was still alive, I don't understand. It made no sense. At least, and McKenna Grace, they made like a huge deal out of her with Ice Nine Kills in the song, and then she's like the third one to go, and she was the only other person besides like any of the new characters that were actually killed. And I mean, this Ghostface definitely went over the top with some of his kills, and I think that was kind of to add a little bit of shock value to the movie. But again, I was like, okay, well, if this is Stu, this makes sense because he's an actual psychopath, and he's really just like completely lost it. Like, that would have been a great build up, but it's, yeah, the two people that were the killers, it just made no sense. Like, she was upset because Sydney wasn't there in New York. Like, that girl wasn't even there in New York, so it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And the AI with Billy's mother and Dewey on the TV, like showing all the characters, and then it not even being them, and then having the one guy that revealed himself and then saying, Stu, come on in, sort of thing. I was like, okay, Stu's the second killer, or at least the third. And I was like, this would make sense because I was calling it. There's no way when they're doing the whole town scene and Tatum is trying to run away that she's still stuck with the same killer both times, right? Like, I was like, there's got to be two of them because there's no way they're moving that quickly. So, yeah. I was almost thinking that he was going to say it was Stu, and then Stu wasn't going to reveal himself, and then it would have been a build up to an eighth movie because you're like, oh my god, is this Stu? Is it not? But again, it just seems like a very weak movie to me as far as the franchise goes. Like, I would say this is where, like, number 6 for me will be where the franchise ends, and I will probably forget about this movie in like a couple of months because, yeah, it was not great. Like, I gave it a 4 out of 10. That's how unimpressed by this movie I was. It just went too far. I think, and they are trying to add new characters into it and have them killed. Like, don't get me wrong, the kills were brutal. Some of the special effects, like revealing Ghostface, was good. Like, I'm giving them credit where they did a good job too. But as far as like the story goes, I feel like this is just the fall off of Scream, unfortunately. And I was hoping, I know that Matthew Lillard, from the little bit of interviews I've seen, was really hoping and praying that he wasn't the downfall of the movie, which I don't think he was. Like, this wasn't his fault. This was obviously just poor writing, and unfortunately, sometimes you just, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you just take the hit, I guess, because people were expecting you to be the killer, and then you're not. It's kind of just a big letdown when that's what you're expecting throughout this entire movie. You're like, yes, he's going to wipe out everybody. Like, this is going to be the end, and Ghostface will kind of live on, sort of thing. Or they're all going to kill one another, and the story ends there finally. But now they're dragging it out for another movie. Like, it just feels like they're milking it at this point, which is kind of sad because the other ones were good. They all had like at least some sort of a story and family ties, but this one should have been Stu. It just should have been Stu, and they fumbled it completely by having two new Ghostface killers that had really nothing else to do with the other stories, unfortunately. So yeah, 4 out of 10 for this movie. I don't really know what else there is I can say. Like, her daughter had like no background. Like, Sydney had been protecting her from this, but hadn't been training her to do any skills whatsoever. Like, basically gave her pointers on how to use the gun when she's being tracked. And somehow she's good enough to hit the ghost face through a wall, and Sydney says, you gotta shoot him in the head. And when she goes out of the room without the gun, for one, it's like sets the gun down. I'm like, that's a stupid move right there. And then doesn't shoot the ghost face in the head and gets captured by both of them. And I was like, okay, seems kind of weak, because you could have at least tried to shoot again, but you didn't. You waited till the very last second. It seemed like in every situation, until the very end of the movie, where they kill Jessica with what seems like relative ease, and they just like shoot her constantly in the head until she's downed. And I'm like, okay, the ghost faces seem too strong, and now it just seems like you guys are the psychopaths all of a sudden. Again, kind of weak, especially when it kind of seems like they're following the story from the sixth one, where, you know, Billy Loomis's daughter is a bit crazy, obviously, because she's the daughter of an actual ghost face. Like, it almost seemed like that's what they were doing, but it fell short in this movie for me, unfortunately. And I will not be watching another Scream movie after this. Like, I don't care how long they milk this franchise. It's 6 is where it ends for me. So yeah, really a big letdown after all of the other Scream movies, because I was a huge fan of this, but you can kind of tell that once certain directors and producers get out of it, it just falls flat, unfortunately. And yeah, hopefully, I mean, this movie will probably make a lot of money because of what people were expecting, which is unfortunate. But yeah, if you do go see this in theaters, I would say most people who are a fan of the Scream franchise, like true fans, will not be happy with how this movie went at all. Which is unfortunate, because I was I was hoping this was the end. Like, this should have been the last film, but now they're going to be making an 8th one, and I won't be going to see it, because just from the trailers alone, it looked like McKenna Grace was going to be playing her daughter, and I was like, okay, I'm pumped, because I have liked McKenna Grace in the Ghostbusters movie. Like, I think she's a phenomenal actress, and I mean, she still kind of technically stole the show, because she was the only other kill besides the first 2 that really stuck out in this movie. And I mean, Ghostface just took everything in this movie. Like, yeah, like every weapon that was thrown at him, sort of thing. It was almost like he was like the Terminator by the end of it. And I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. And then they just both get shot in the head when they take their masks off. I was like, seriously, this is how you're going to end it? But anyway, I guess it kind of came full circle because that was the whole thing, right? Was that they shot Billy Loomis in the head, so why not end these two killers the same way? But yeah. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all I can say. I feel like I'm kind of just rambling on the same points now, so I will see you guys in the next review. Bye bye for now.